It's harder than ever to get ahead. Chase Secure Banking is right there with you to help, with the convenience to manage your money from the Chase mobile app. Plus, it helps you spend only what you have. Because you want to get ahead of your expenses and want to get ahead in life. Chase Secure Banking, helping you get ahead. Open a Chase Secure Banking account today with no minimum deposit.
Since you can't go to concerts, now we're bringing the concert right to your living room. In celebration of Harlem Week, it's a virtual concert with the Stylistics. It's the Dramatics. And the Blue Notes. We're bringing the concert to your living room. It's all part of the Harlem Week celebration. For more information, go online to harlemweek.com. We've lost some great ones. Community leaders, mothers, sons, fathers, and grandparents. Our jazz legends gone too soon. Businesses, restaurants, and landmarks empty. But we can't give up. Harlem is world famous for a reason. The birthplace of the Renaissance. Our culture is worth fighting for. This is a movement of the people. Harlem is you and me. We shall overcome this together because Harlem is love.
And he don't do what you want him to. Love ain't nobody's angel child, and he won't pay any mind to you. One man gives me his diamond stud, and I won't give him a cigarette. One man treats me like I was mud.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Crystal Room is proud to present the club debut of America's new recording stars, The Dreams.
Every man has his own special dream, and your dream's just about to come true. Life's not as bad as it may seem if you open your eyes to what's in front of you.
Who's the greatest band around? Makes the cats jump up and down. Who's the talk of Rhythm Town? Five guys named Mo, that's us. When we start to beat it out, everybody jumps and shouts. Tell me who the critics all rave about. Five guys named Mo.
No more scratching for a living, like a chicken pecking. He's got the whole world figured out, and even more. I reckon the moon don't rise to light the sky. The moon comes up just to shine on pearly, pearly.
Wow, 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 wow. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are globally. Say hello to Harlem. I can't hear you. Say hello to Harlem. On behalf of myself, Irene Gandy, and my partner, Donna Walker Kuhn, and the rest of the Harlem Week board members, we welcome you to Harlem Week and the Harlem Music Festival. The theme of Harlem Week 2020 is the movement of the people. This panel is focused on people who make up the theatrical industry of Broadway and off Broadway. Harlem Week is a local, national, and international celebration. One of the highlights is arts, culture, and entertainment. In 2020, we all endured exceptional suffering due to COVID-19, and it has paralyzed our industry. However, the movement of the people means nothing can stop our growth and our development. It revealed an extraordinary movement that resulted in an unprecedented protest against racism. This happened, unfortunately, as a result, watching the murder of George Floyd. And with that, the movement began Dear White American Theater Letter. This letter was supported by thousands of people of color and allies who demand that racism in the theater stop now. And the demands requested to change the field to a humane and more respectful place. Now is the time to disrupt racism at its very core. We must break down the barriers that prevent diversity, equity, and inclusion. We must uproot the systemic behavior that prevent people of color from being accepted as professionals with equity and inclusion. Today, we will hear from amazing people. You will learn from amazing. Today, we'll hear from people in this field who will discuss in the many industries that make up the Broadway and off Broadway world. This conversation will acknowledge this condition and discuss how each of us can be an agent for change. I am delighted to welcome my colleagues and my friends. And we hope you find this all over the world and all over the arts community. I hope you find this conversation enlightening and useful. Thank you very much. And so we have Boza with Vice Chair. Vice Chair, hello Boza. It was a great Harlem Music Festival and Harlem Week came off to a great start. So Boza Rivers, Vice Chair of Harlem Week, can you tell us a little?
Yeah,
Tell us what's going on all over the world. We're listening.
yes,
They're
yes, yes.
watching.
Yes, I'll be brief. This evening's discussion will be timely, informative, and engaging. Harlem Week has been in existence for the past 46 years, and of course, this is the first time that we're going virtual. One of the things that has happened by being in Harlem is we have seen the change. 46 years for Harlem Week and 56 years for me producing and running the oldest Black not-for-profit theater in the state of New York. What I have seen and over the years and what the chamber has done is to be very, very supportive of the local based arts and culture organizations. Within the course of our presentations, we have highlighted the National Black Theater, New Heritage Theater, Dance Theater of Harlem, Jazzmobile, National Jazz Museum, the Schomburg Center, all of our venues who feed into the cultural pipeline that transport the work from Harlem to downtown to the rest of the world. And I'm just happy to say that for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, to get a sense of what we at Harlem we consider our duty, our goal, and our mission. We have extraordinary partners from New York City, NYC and Company, to the New York Road Runners with a daily 5K run throughout Harlem, all over the world. We have created opportunities for some of our downtown partners to join uptown, like New York City Center, Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, Jazz at Lincoln Center, the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, in addition to the Dance Theater of Harlem and Jazzmobile and our local base organization. So this evening, our conversation by these key experts from their fields will give you more information, but all I can tell you is how pleased we are to be a part of this. So on behalf of the board of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce and the Harlem Music Festival, I say welcome to not only our panelists, but to all the participants who've tuned in. Harlem Week, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. It's so great to hear from you. I am so excited for this conversation this evening and really pleased that we have a wonderful message from a dear friend of Harlem Week and the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, and that is from Charlie Flateman. And Charlie Flateman is the Senior Vice President of Marketing for the Schubert Organization and also the Chairman of NYC and Company. So let's see what Charlie has to share with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charles Flateman, Executive Vice President of the Schubert Organization, and also the Chairman of NYC and Company, the official tourism management and marketing bureau of the 5 boroughs of New York City. I'm proud to say that I and the Schubert Organization have been associated with the Greater Harlem Chamber and with Harlem Week for decades. This year's Harlem Week is different, of course, as a virtual event. But out of that difference, we have an opportunity to experience Harlem Week with fresh eyes, recognize and rededicate to a new commitment, and still celebrate a great day and a great week in Harlem. Broadway Behind the Scenes provides a wonderful opportunity to showcase all the jobs in the theater, beyond the bold-faced names and the talented actors we have on our stages. It truly takes an army of theater makers to make a Broadway show. And that opportunity brings with it an obligation to be recognized now, that all the jobs on Broadway can be filled with diversity, with inclusivity, and with clear intention for equity. The Black Lives Matter movement has propelled the theater community to advance an evolution in its hiring and retention practices in the workforce, from a vague theory of diversity toward intention and to the beginnings of action. I know we're doing that at Schubert, as is the Broadway League, and I dare say it applies to the entire Broadway community. Of course, these embers of change take everyone's effort to become fully manifest, but I do believe there's cause to be optimistic about our shared future. And one reason that I remain optimistic is that I have a deep, abiding expectation that New York City will lead the country in recovery, which will happen no matter how tough these times are today. And this isn't just wishful thinking by me. This is inevitable because New York City has long been and is today and will be next year and will be 5 years from now and 10 years from now and 20 years from now, the cultural capital of the world and the creative capital of the world, from Broadway to the Apollo and from the Whitney to the Schomburg. We are the center of the arts. So when people around the city and around the state and the region and the country and the world are ready to get off their couches and begin to travel again, it will be for the arts, and it will be for culture, and it will be these very jobs that we're talking about today that will move it forward. At NYC and Company, our campaign is called All In NYC because it demonstrates how we are going all in support of this city we call home. But we are also all in for Broadway, and all in for Harlem, and all in for Harlem Week. Have a great day, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Charlie Flateman, for that wonderful statement. And
Yes,
now
thank
I'd
you.
like to introduce our panel. We'll start with Linda Armstrong as our moderator. And Linda has been a theater critic with the New York Amsterdam News for 35 years. She's covered Broadway, off and off Broadway, and many Black theater companies. She's a member of the Outer Critic Circle, and she's on the board of directors of the Drama Desk Awards. Irene Gandy, whom you just heard from, is the only Black female press agent member of ATPAM, which is the Association of Theatrical Press Agents and Managers on Broadway for 50 years. Irene is a Tony Award-winning producer for the Gershwins Porgy and Bess and producer for Lady Day and Emerson Bar and Grill. She was also co-producer with Rosa Rivers on the national tour of the South African musical Serafina. And she's the first female press agent to be immortalized with a Sardis caricature. Jim Joseph was recently director of operations for Art New York, an art service organization working to support the nonprofit New York City theater community. Currently, Jim is substitute theater manager for the Schubert organization. Jim Glaub is founder and CEO of Super Awesome Friends. I just love saying that. And a recognized leader in innovative marketing for the theater. He's worked on over 60 Broadway shows and major events, including the Tony Awards. He's a 3-time Webby winner and a member of the Broadway League. David Calhoun moved to New York in 1980. Currently, he's the house manager for the Nederlander Theater on Broadway, and he also is a member of ATPAM, Association of Theatrical Press Agents and Managers. Julio Peterson, Vice President of Real Estate for the Schubert Organization, and is responsible for overall management of the organization's corporate real estate. He's also the Schubert liaison with the city and state government and works with civic organizations in New York City. This is our panel. Welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Donna, if I could correct one thing that you said, I have been part of Outer Critics and I am on Drama Desk, but I'm not a board member anymore.
Okay.
So I am a member, but I'm not a board member.
They sent me a memo. They want you back.
Okay. All right. Okay, no problem. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction of everybody. I am so thrilled to moderate this panel with you guys. This is just something that it's time for it. It's necessary. And, with everything that's been going on, oh my God, we just need to be able to do things so that we can develop that next generation and really get everybody into the professions, which is the arts, because the arts are a blessing from God as far as I'm concerned. So I have 3 questions that I want to ask you guys, and you can take your 5 minutes to either answer one or all 3 of the questions. The first one is, what exactly is your job, and how do you encourage a potential candidate to pursue this type of position? Question 2, what are the benefits and additional perks for an employee career-wise in the job? And question 3, there has been a significant response to the Dear White American Theater letter comprised by people of color in theater. It lists demands for changes for equity, diversity, and inclusion. How do you see Black Lives Matter impacting on Broadway?
Okay. So
you want to go first,
start
John?
Sure, why not? I get asked the question, what exactly do I do? Sometimes I answer back with, what don't I do? I've held many hats over the years, working on and off Broadway, primarily as a theater manager, working in front of house. We are the front line of the theater going experience. I always like to tell the staff who are working with me that it's our responsibility to make sure that the audience can have the best time possible. So we set the table for the audience to make sure that they have the best time. Art is subjective. People aren't going to like everything that they see in a theater, but we can control how great of an experience they have while attending that art. Now, in addition to that, I also work in theater operations, everything from HVAC contracts to overseeing security. I also have a freelancing consulting business where I do some executive coaching and management for smaller art companies as well. So there are a lot of things that I do. But in order to get started in this business, Working on Broadway, working in the theater is an apprentice-based business. And no matter what kind of experience that you have coming out of college, no matter how many degrees that you have, everybody's success in this business is predicated on somebody putting their arm literally or figuratively around your shoulder and saying, come here, kid, let me show you how it's done. I've had mentors early in my career that helped me along. We all have stories of that somebody, and we all have stories of people who we've helped to bring up as well. That's just the nature of this business. It's, you learn by doing, you learn by the people around you. So if this is something that you want to get into, that's first and foremost. You know, have to reach out. We try to, I know David and I, we're on some committees, and we're trying to make ourselves as available as possible for people who want to come up in this business, and, you know, so they can learn what it's really like. In terms of perks and good things, I mean, we're working on Broadway. That's great. It's a wonderful community. But one thing that I would say, I also wouldn't want to sugarcoat it either. I had a boss a long time ago who said to me that the theater is a demanding mistress. It's a lot of time, a lot of energy. Now, I'm a native New Yorker, you know, which is a rarity in this industry. My whole family's here in New York. Unfortunately, there were a lot of birthday parties, there were a lot of family gatherings that I missed out on, because when you work on Broadway, it's 8 shows a week over 6 days. You know, Broadway only stops for blizzards, hurricanes, and pandemics. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only time that we shut down. So we've made a commitment for this lifestyle. It's a beautiful lifestyle. It's a beautiful community, but it takes up a lot of your time, and that's something that you have to know going in. You know, this is, if you want to work a 9-to-5 job, this is not it. You know? Right. Yeah. And lastly, just really quickly, not to Black Lives Matter is such a, we want to hope that this is a movement and not a moment in time. We all have stories about what it was like coming up in this industry, you know, as a person of color. We all want to see ourselves represented on stage. You know, I say it all the time, and it's all about it being inclusive and being invited and being a participant. You know, I'm hopeful that things will change. I'm an optimist. If the glass is always half full, if you don't have anything to look forward to in the morning, then why bother getting up? You know, so you have to hope that change is coming. But the reality is that for change to happen, the people who are making the decisions need to change as well. You know, we have a lot of experience. We have a huge amount of credentials on this panel. But the reality is none of us can snap their fingers and get a show on Broadway tomorrow.
Yeah.
None of us can. I wish we could. And that's what needs to happen. The power brokers need to embrace this moment as much as we all are as well.
No, I totally agree with that. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
So who else wants to talk? Come on, let's go. Go ahead, Julio.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel. I'm so happy. I go way back with Harlem Week. I'm born and raised in New York City, Harlem. And so I'm just so proud to be here at this time. I think just to start off with Linda's question, and it's back to Jim's point about the power structure at Broadway needs to change. And that's really what it is. That, you know, you've had a lot of people who've been there a very long time, and they're good people, but they look at things in their own way. There's this Broadway bubble that, you know, I feel we live in. You know, things are fantastic. I'm the vice president of real estate at the Schubert Organization. We're the largest owner of Broadway theaters. We're one of the most powerful institutions and one of the oldest institutions on Broadway. And to be there at Schubert, obviously, I've had to prove myself. I got there through what I call the side door, having had experience in real estate development and building cultural institutions. I worked on the Malcolm X Memorial Project, the redevelopment of the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem, and some other major projects in Harlem when I worked for Mayor Dinkins at the Economic Development Corporation. So I got through the Broadway industry wearing the real estate hat and helping, manage our real estate portfolio, being the negotiating leases with Sardi's and helping build our off-Broadway theater. I didn't know much about theater before I came to Schubert. I had been to 2 shows. I went to see Annie when I was a kid as part of the New York City public school free ticket system for poor Black and Dominican type kids like me. And then I went to see Bring on the Funk, Bring on the Noise because a really nice young lady invited me to go see it. So I didn't have that experience of theater, and I'm so happy that I am at Schubert. I've been there 20 years. We're like a family. But it's important that we push, just family members push one another to be better. And I think that's what we're trying to do at Schubert, that we want to push ahead because we know we're an institution that people look at us, our foundation. We're one of the largest funder of not-for-profit theater companies in the country. And also we're a big boy in the industry. So we have to put our best foot forward. And I couldn't sleep with myself knowing that as the only person of color in senior management at Schubert, that I didn't push Schubert to really work on being more inclusive, to get a board member of color, to have more people of color in our management, and to be able to go up the pipeline to one day, be in my shoes or be in some other else's shoes at Schubert. So as I said to the folks at Schubert, I'm not here to try to be anybody's Martin Luther King or savior, but I think in order for our industry to be viable, we have to be more inclusive. And that includes jobs at all sectors of the Broadway industry, whether it be PR, legal, finance, stagehands, all kinds of technology jobs, marketing, real estate. We have to push our industry to be able to allow our people of color, Black people, brown people, to be able to have a hope that they can elevate themselves through our industry. And that's one of the missions that I feel I have. And right now, this whole issue of Black Lives Matter, we know there's a lot of benefits, to Jim's point, of working in the theater. I get to see shows, I get to work with really amazing and dynamic people. But right now, this moment, that's all like secondary to me, because if I see an opportunity and to speak up and knowing that there's things that I know about our industry that perpetuate the ability of Black people to be involved, I have to speak up against it. So that whether it's in the not-for-profit sector, I'm on not-for-profit theater boards, whether it's at the company I work for, Schubert, or whether it's, speaking to people at the Broadway League or producers or whomever, I have to let them know that our industry needs to be more inclusive from the bottom up. As I said to people in the past, you love to see us tap dance on the stage, but what else can we do? We can do a lot of other things. We have carpenters of color who can help, build sets. We have choreographers. We have musicians. We have people who are lawyers. So to me, if you really want to get in the industry and you have other skill sets, get in the industry, because there's going to be room for people of color, Black and brown people of color in our industry. So that's what I'm committed to do. We're pushing the Schubert organization to do that, and they've shown a commitment to do that. And we're going to show the world that we're going to be a leader on Broadway in our industry to help create real change, not symbolic, not just an intern, but real change in our industry. Because young white girl coming out of, Smith College or Sarah Lawrence gets an internship, and she's the white vice president of theater company or whatever it is. Those opportunities don't happen for people that look like me or my mother or my sisters. So I just want to be very thankful here to, folks at Harlem Week, Lloyd Williams, Voza. We go way back. And I'm just, I just hope that we can keep on pushing and this not be just a little moment here, but we got to keep on just plugging away So when we have this conversation 20 years from now, it'll be a little bit different. It's not going to change 100% right away because there's institutional barriers that need to be broken, and those are going to take time. So I'm just very thankful to be here, and I'm here to support whatever efforts there are to advance that cause. Thank you.
What you're doing is so important because it is important that we have a person in your position that is looking out for his people, because that's what happens if you have somebody looking out. Then, like you said, when somebody graduates from a historically black college, or just any young person of color graduates from school, they'll be able to say, can I get this internship, and be told yes, instead of being told no because somebody else came from somewhere else that looks like the people that produce the shows and is saying you're not getting that chance. So I really appreciate the fact that you're there, that Jim, that you're there also, just that you guys are there, and you're there to say, no, we're going to make sure that whatever opportunities come up, our young black people can get it too, because that is the problem. That's a huge problem. It's been a problem for years, and I'm just glad that finally people are really deciding we're going to address this now. So I'm sorry. Who else wants to talk? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
David?
I guess I can go up. I unmute myself.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me part of this panel. Like Jim, I'm a house manager, but I also was a former vice president and president of the Association of Theatrical Press Agents and Managers at PAM. And one of the interesting things for me was when I first got to New York back in 1980. I think, Donnie, you came here at the same time. I was trying to figure out how to get into the union. I wanted to be a company manager. I heard about that position when I was in Detroit going to school at Wayne State University. And the stage manager and company manager for the national tour of Chorus Line came and spoke to our theater class. And that's the first time I heard of it. And that was in the, late 70s. And then I got here, and, it was a lot of, writing letters, knocking on doors, sorry, we don't have anything right now. Sorry, we don't have anything right now. And it took a little bit of time. And then when I got my foot in the door finally, I was, had a lot of good mentors. Unfortunately, the black managers that had been around, for the most part, had stopped working for whatever reasons. And so the long and the short was I did a lot of tours. And I remember one time I was on, and I really enjoyed what I was doing. I love being a company manager. I love being on the road. And I was doing a tour of Annie, and we were in the Sanger in New Orleans. And it was the first day of load in, and I went out at lunchtime to get something to eat. And when I came back, there were a group of black gentlemen that were standing outside the stage door that had been on the local load-in crew. And one of the guys came up to me and said, "Excuse me, are you, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm the company manager." And they all he turned and he nodded to the guys, and these gentlemen I was younger then, came up to me, and they just wanted to shake my hand. And they said that how important it was to see somebody who looked like them in a position of power. And it was the first time, and some of them actually had tears in their eyes. And I say that story because for a long time, like Irene, I was one of the few black managers, I think the only black male company manager on Broadway. Wow. And because of the Black Lives Matter movement, our union has realized that we're lacking in people of Black and Indigenous people of color. And we've started a EDI committee, which Jim is on with me. And we're hoping to grow the ranks with more, hopefully young people of color, and by going out to universities, and we've got a whole plan. And if you come to our website soon, you can see what it's like. But I think that it's important, and I think that because the Black Lives Matter movement started, that as both Julio and Jim said, that it stays a movement and not just something to do because we're out of work and we're quarantined.
Mm-hmm.
and we have time on our hands, that this is something that needs to keep going, even when probably the last people that actually get to go back to work are theater, entertainment, music, concerts, that we just keep this ball rolling. And we're very dedicated at our union to make sure that that happens.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful.
Jim Glau, Jim.
Irene.
Yeah. Because we got to move it.
We got to move it. First
That's
of all,
right.
thank you so much for having me on this amazing panel. I'm so inspired by your stories, David, Julio, and Jim. Thank you so much for sharing. And Donna, I've been a massive fan of yours for many years. And Irene, you are my queen. So I'm just so thrilled to be here. So I'm really, really excited. I've been doing digital marketing, content, creative for Broadway for nearly 20 years now. And it's been so fascinating to see how it's changed, how it's grown, how it's feeling all of a sudden very exciting. Like, it's a really exciting time, especially in the world of digital. It feels like it's the place where doors are opening in a bigger sense than I've ever seen before. It feels like communities are coming together. It feels like the world of social media is really enhancing the conversation, not just of Black Lives Matter, but diversity, rights of equal rights of many different people. And in our community, it's just so exciting to see, especially having been in this world for a long time. I'm in a lot of meetings. I work on a lot of Broadway shows, and I'm on a variety of committees from the Broadway League and the American Theater Wing. And it's so awesome to hear finally conversations of equity and it's just an exciting time. And I know that it may seem like these things are sort of temporary, but I've never experienced anything like this, and it's really exciting. And I'm just so happy to be alive and a part of it, and grateful to be here. But one of the things I really wanted to answer, Linda, of your amazing questions that I actually think is really useful is what my job is in the theater and how you can get involved. I'm very, I've always been on the digital side of things and in the social media world for a very long time. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember MySpace or Friendster, but I was definitely one of the first people to work on those social media platforms very, very early on in my career. I've shepherded a lot of different innovations within the world of content and social media, and it's been just extremely exciting and changes all the time. But one of the things that I really wanted to use this as an opportunity for was to actually share that I didn't go to school for any of this stuff. It wasn't really something that you went to school for at the time. It was all new. It was all burgeoning, like it was there. So I really did teach myself. And now I think that we're in this amazing world where so much information is available to us online. And I highly recommend, if people are interested in getting involved in getting paid to do social media or paid to make amazing content and art, that there are certain skills that you need to be able to do this. And I highly recommend practicing and working on the skills within the world of copy, writing. I think editing is a super important skill, the actual skill of editing a story, not just through a device like Premiere, but even on your phone, on things like InShot or even on your phone, you can edit really great stories through that. I highly recommend getting involved in some sort of design aspect as well. At least learning the basics of how things look on a screen will give you so much opportunity, because you're able to sort of place these things. I also tell people, like, learn about social media. Even if you don't practice it yourself, learn about the ins and outs of it, because it will, in the world of advertising and marketing, it's so important, and it is all going in towards this direction. One big thing that I highly recommend while you're young is to learn coding. It is really hard to learn when you're older. It's like another language, but learn it while you're young. Learn it now. It's so useful. Even if you just learn it and put it away, I promise it will be useful for you. I highly recommend getting involved in learning about Excel and Microsoft Word. I know these are basic programs on how we use it, but I'm shocked at how many young people do not understand these devices and how it is the basic tools of how we communicate within office structures. And now, even more than ever, is going to be more important because we're working in outside of offices, right? We need to understand how we work in this digital world. And then, I often tell people, the cloud is very important for our world of content. Learn about WeTransfer, learn about Dropbox, learn about Drive. I know it seems so simple, but it's shocking at how many people don't understand the basics of cloud structure and how if you learn that, I'm telling you, you will climb very quickly. These are these tools that can help us really understand how to make content, how to understand marketing. We'll then be able to, you could get placed really quickly in almost any aspect, from IT to marketing to being the executive's assistant to being the executive, to being the one running the whole thing. Having these tools are not secret. Go onto YouTube and search how to do it. If you want to spend a little bit, Skillshare is a really great tool service for that, or even Lynda, which is run by LinkedIn. So I just wanted to share that these are the things that I learned, which were able to help me create a very prosperous career in the theater. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
No, that sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Thank you to everybody. You guys were wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And this is Irene, of course. So now I have all the big hucky mucks like Jim. I've been in those rooms, me and Donna, we're the only people of color. So since you're the president and founder, I will be sending people your way. That's why
we are looking for not just employees, freelancers. We really want to provide an opportunity to be able to get in the door. What a better way than in digital?
I just want to let you know, because that's important. And I really want to thank all of you for being on. And it was Donna, you're on the second panel, so you know that, right? And we have the second panel who we're waiting, who we all love. So I want to thank first I want to thank Lynda Armstrong. You'll be back. She'll be back in moderating. She'll be back in moderating second. But thank you, Lynda, for always covering the black stuff, whether downtown or uptown. I want to thank Jim Joseph, because you were really one of the first people I saw, other than David. I knew David from Baltimore. So it's good to see all of us on the screen. And Julio, I mean, you know how I feel about you. So, so this is a wonderful, and I just hopefully we can have this conversation again when the theater is open, when the dinner theater is open, because we're going to get all the seats out and have dinner theater. Social distancing.
Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to discuss how we're going to advance our field to have more equity, diversity, inclusion on Broadway and off Broadway behind the scenes. My name is Donna Walker-Kuhn, and I'm really pleased and delighted to welcome our illustrious group of professionals and experts in their field. So I'm going to introduce them, starting with our moderator, and then we'll start our discussion. So we're really excited to have Lynda Armstrong will be our moderator for our panel. Lynda's been a theater critic with the New York Amsterdam News for 35 years, and she's covered Broadway, off and off Broadway, and many Black theater companies. And she's a member of the Outer Critics Circle. And then we have Alethea Stevens. Alethea is the Chief Operating Officer at Spotpro, which is an advertising, marketing, and branding agency. She joined the company as a member of the account services team, got her start managing brand and media strategy, and then she went on to found the agency's direct mail, print services, operations, and human resources department. Today, she's the highest ranking person of color in the theatrical advertising industry. You go, Alethea.
My God, that's fantastic.
Neil Mazzella. Neil is president and co-founder of Hudson Scenic Studio. These provided scenic decoration and theatrical automation for over 450 Broadway shows and touring productions. And the New Year's Eve ball that drops in Times Square was engineered and fabricated by Hudson Scenic Studio. Wow. And Damien Bazandona, the founder, Situation Interactive, a digital agency in New York City that helps brands build passionate communities. From the Super Bowl to Broadway's biggest hits, over the years, Damien has worked with many notable brands, including the Metropolitan Opera, Major League Soccer, and Wicked. Kimberly Shaw is the Broadway and touring company manager with over 20 years of experience in the performing arts. And she began studying piano at the Manhattan School of Music Prep Division and made the transition from music to arts administration while in college. Some of her Broadway credits and tours include A Bronx Tale, Fiddler on the Roof, and The Lion King. And we're very pleased and delighted to have someone who has really paved the way on Broadway for African Americans in many ways, Stephanie Mills. Stephanie Mills is a Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, actress, and Broadway star born in Brooklyn, New York. She started singing at the age of 3. And at the age of 9, she starred in the Broadway musical Maggie Flynn. And she followed that up with the Amateur Hour at the Apollo for 6 weeks. But her rise to stardom really happened in the role of Dorothy in the original Broadway hit musical The Wiz. And in 2015, Stephanie was cast as Aunt Em in the NBC live musical of The Wiz, 40 years after her initial Broadway appearance. As we all know and love Miss Mills' music. She's won Tony Awards, Grammy Awards, NAACP Image Awards, American Music Awards, and she continues to do what she loves, which is travel around the country on tour, performing live in front of sold-out audiences, spreading love and empowering people to be their best. So while we're in this virtual moment, we still get to have the advantage of having Ms. Mills and all of you to share your amazing experiences and craft as we look to the future of how we can really change our industry. So Linda, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be moderator of this panel. I'm so glad to have all of you with us. Thank you so much for being here. And I know you guys already know about the 3 questions I'm going to ask, but I'm going to read them for you again. You have 5 minutes in which to either answer all 3 or answer whichever one is best for you. Now, the first question is, what exactly is your job and how do you encourage a potential candidate to pursue this type of position? What are the benefits and additional perks for an employee career-wise in the job? And 3, there has been a significant response to the Dear White American Theater letter composed by people of color in theater. It lists demands for change, for equity, diversity, and inclusion. How do you see Black Lives Matter impacting on Broadway? Whoever wants to go first, feel free.
Hi, we actually have an order for the panelists. If we can follow that order, that would be great. It's going to be Alethea, then Neil, then myself, then Damien, then Kim, and Ms. Mills, we would like you to go last because we know you have vast amount of experience and we want you to have more time to share your experiences, if that's okay.
No pressure.
So, but we'll start with Alethea, followed by Neil, and then I'll go.
Great. Okay. So thank you, Linda and Donna. In simple terms, my job is, as the CEO of SPACO, is to make sure that the company has processes and procedures in place to operate a profitable business. So I oversee human resources, finance, administration, facilities, and legal. In addition to that, I work with clients to implement multicultural advertising, marketing strategy, audience development. I manage philanthropy for the company. Yeah, the list goes on, but that's the gist of my role.
That's a great deal. My God, girl. Wow, that's incredible. All right.
So I've worked in the Broadway industry. I got my start literally by affiliation. I was working at the Public Theater as Director of Community Affairs, and George C. Wolfe was transferring plays to Broadway. And as an institution, we wanted to continue that feeling of engaging community on Broadway. So that was my responsibility. And so it started actually with Twilight Los Angeles with Anna Devere Smith in, I think, 94. And then we did The Tempest with Patrick Stewart. But the show that changed my entire life and my career was Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk. You know, that changed the landscape completely. It was the first time that we were having young African Americans coming into, you know, theater, purchasing their tickets, not as a handout, not cool, but because they wanted to be there and see these young men who look like them tell their story in a way they'd never seen before. And so that was really a landmark for me. And so as a result of that, we kept transferring shows. And then I started to be asked by other producers if I could help and support their shows. So I worked on Hairspray and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and 22 other shows at that time. So it was never a goal for me, but it was an opportunity. And certainly as a woman of color, I was definitely going to step through that door and see how many other people I can bring with me. I think what I'm most excited about is that I have been able to mentor a number of African-American women and men of color who now are working in this field of bringing diverse audiences to Broadway. I think that's really critical. I think the challenge is being marginalized to only focusing on audiences of color and being given resources that are extremely modest in comparison to the other aspects of the show. And that's the dynamic that I really want to see changed. You know, we're talking about equity, diversity, inclusion. And so absolutely the equity piece is I'm the same as you. I have the same skills and resources you. In fact, sometimes we're more educated than our colleagues. So why are we getting such a less amount to be able to accomplish that same goal, if not more? So for me, that is, Black Lives Matter. That is a key component that we look at this in a more equitable way. I'm excited about the future because I think that now we have raised our voice and there's no turning back. There is no going back. We can only go forward. And if each of us in our respective fields stand in our light and make a commitment that I am going to be the one that's going to be a change agent, then we will see this. Otherwise, this was just a moment and we missed it. And that we can't allow to happen. So I know that this group, we are going to be the revolutionaries in a peaceful way, but a way that advances our field that has never happened before. And we have to pay homage, to people like Stephanie Mills, who was out there doing this, way before we had this whole team to surround us. So let's make this happen.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Donna.
May I add one thing, please? Yeah, Miss Donna and you and Miss Irene have been instrumental in my career, and I'll tell you that you two were the first two Black women that I saw in a room in my early days as an account executive at SPACO, and that meant a lot to me. So I just want to say thank you. Talk about paying homage. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sister Sharon, I love it.
So now we go to Damien.
Yeah, what an honor to be here. It's like, seriously, it's just so cool. I've known you for like
a long time.
Probably 20 years. Like, Donna, Letha, Irene in particular, we worked together for a long time and watching the growth, and you guys are trailblazing the space. So as you guys are talking through your resumes, I just got to watch it as it's happened. And obviously in a clearly predominantly white industry, to be able to really trailblaze into space, I have massive. It's just awesome on so many levels, and just an honor to be here. So thank you, and thank you to folks at Harlem Week. I think it's just so cool that we're actually having this conversation. I'll briefly try and hit the three questions that were asked. One is like what I do. So I run a digital marketing agency, and what that means is essentially how do we find audiences using digital technology. Using building websites, creating social media, anything on a Google search platform, any of that kind of stuff. My job is to essentially find audiences on digital technologies and bring them into put them into seats. In a nutshell, that's it. So I founded the company. I've been running the company for now 19 years. I do a lot in Broadway, but I've also do a lot in other different industries that are relating to live events. So that's kind of what I do. And I think what I think is cool about the job, I'm trying to recruit somebody, I think to be in this industry or like a company like mine, I started by myself, and now we were up to about 100 people over that period of time. And in my company, we've got, I'll call it like the left brain folks, people who see themselves as more analytical and lean more towards the numbers. And then we've got the right brain people who might lean more towards, I'll call it the creative, right? The artists, designers, copywriters, idea people. It's a gigantic tent, the digital marketing space. So when I'm trying to recruit people, it's exciting, period. And I think the best part of my job and the best part of this industry, if I were trying to recruit people, is the perk, and what is probably also equally, I would say, the downside for some people, is that it always is changing. Like if you think about it, I started 20 years ago. I don't even think Facebook was even in someone's idea set at that time, or Instagram or Snapchat, all these different platforms. So it changes literally every year. I find that exciting, and it like runs through my blood, and it's like gets me excited to come to work every day. I realized I didn't take a sick day for like 18 years until finally I got sick one day. I love what I do. And I think anyone who comes into the space, if you want to get into in the digital space in particular, it's exciting. And I am an outsider. I never saw a Broadway show until I was probably 20 or 21. I'm a public school kid. I'm the first kid to graduate from my family and 4-year degree in my family in college. Like I came into Broadway I tripped into it. And so I've always seen myself as an outsider, and it was amazing to kind of trip on this. I remember the first show I worked on was August Wilson, King Hedley. And I walked in there and I sat there and I said, I cannot believe people spend $100 every night to see a Broadway show. It was $100 at the time. And that's amazing, right? To people's passion and joy and attraction to theater, which I didn't have growing up as a kid. And I feel like, thankfully, I fell into this industry and found that. I've always been, I think the idea of being an outsider, I hope it's been one of my strengths of looking at it from a fresh perspective, because I don't come from this. The second, I'm self-taught. You don't go to school for this necessarily. Now you might, because I'm 20 years into the business, but I'm just self-taught, and you can learn that. So I think anyone, if you have that drive, particularly becoming a master at the Google platform, is kind of an amazing thing that anyone can go do. And it's about innovation. Like every year, it's about survival. And my advice to folks is just simply that you have to have a desire and a drive to whatever you're going to be doing, whatever career you choose. And if you come into the digital marketing space, which is just, there's so much opportunity, everything is going that direction in so many possibilities, whether you're a content creator, a media, whatever you want to do, it's just a gigantic tent, and run to it. And I'm a big advocate for it. It has highly transferable skills. You talked about, I worked in theater, but I also worked on the Super Bowl. I've taken the ability to move passionate communities to action. And now we're the agency for No Kid Hungry, helping raise money for kids, helping raise money for Meals on Wheels America. The idea of getting people to act is like in the DNA what we do. We get people to go, Aletha could talk, we get people, and Donna, you know this too, getting people to get all the way into Times Square as marketers, right? And like a rainy day on a Wednesday to see a show that often may not even be that great. I mean, that is like master marketing. You can pull that off. So I think that's it. And then the last thing I'd say is, will the impact of Black Lives Matter, what does that look for the industry moving forward? I think it's extremely exciting. And I just think like anything, it's all in the action. So it's been a lot of talk, and everyone says they're going to do something. So I would say that I feel what's been great is we've had a moment of a conversation. If there's one silver lining of the COVID moment, it is a moment of reflection and conversation that would never, I'm hard pressed to see that conversation happening, which I think is great. It's brought a ton of discomfort in all of the right ways for a lot of people. And I think that's just been great. But then the last thing I'll just say on this, but I think the other thing that makes me excited to why I think it will change is Broadway is lost its connection with the local community. Before this happened, for most shows, it's upward to 70 to 75% of people that sit in the seats are tourists. They're not even from here.
Wow.
And all the jobs and all of the people, and you know what's going to happen post-COVID? No one's jumping on a plane. We're not getting all the international travelers. We need to make a connection with the local community. And if you're going to work with local community, you got to put stories up that are representative of the local community. You got to get talent that's representative of the local community. And we're at like 95% Caucasian. If you look at the industry of how it's baked, it is completely disconnected from the realities of the local communities. And so this is just this amazing moment in time in which, I'd like to believe people's hearts are in the right places, and I believe that. But there's also a major financial interest between people really beginning to wake up and say that the money that we've been leaving on the table and inviting audiences in we've just missed it. And now is the moment to kind of get on board with that. So that's my show.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Shaw. I'm a company manager. And just to start in giving Black women love here, that I also would not be sitting here if it weren't for Donna. Donna is responsible for me getting through that Columbia University master's degree program and really helping me focus like what I wanted to talk about and study in order to get through school. I am a company manager, and I saw my first Broadway show when I was 4. It is literally the only thing that I wanted to do with my life and my career. So kind of the opposite of everyone. And I studied music as a kid. I was a serious classical music student, and I went to Spelman College as a pianist. But I always kind of knew that theater is where my heart was, and I needed to figure out, it was like that iron door, like how do you get into theater? I didn't know, but I was a musician, and I kind of figured it out. And I had to chart my own course because so many of my colleagues and my peers had family members who had done it. And so how does this Black kid from New Jersey who doesn't have a stagehand dad, who doesn't have a producer uncle break into the career? And it really took like hard work and education. I did some tours, and after I did tours, I went to Columbia because I figured like that was my way in to study through education. That was kind of like the generation that I grew up in. And so we tried to get further in our lives through education. So I went to Columbia, and Donna really taught a course on communication and marketing. And through that and her conversations about having a seat at the table really allowed me to focus myself and to figure out how to articulate the ways in which we were leaving lots of people out of this Broadway theater thing, both as practitioners and as audience members. So thank you, Donna, for that. And, you know, that's also a little bit of my story. And so what I do as a company manager is I am a person who works in the general manager's office. So there's producers, and the producers hire a general manager. And producers and general managers typically work on more than one show, and then they all have a company manager, and I'm the person on that administrative side of things who only works on one show. It is my job to oversee the administrative operations of a show. And if we're in New York and we're working on Broadway, you know, I'm at the theater every single night. I'm making sure the money and the box office is correct. I run the payroll. I liaise with the marketing team. I do all of the nuts and bolts day to day, all of the things that happen on a Broadway show that doesn't happen backstage or on stage. That is what I'm responsible for. And so it's a big job. And currently, I'm the only Black person on Broadway who sits in the full company manager chair. There's another associate, and it's just literally the two of us at this moment. But that wasn't always the case. And I would love to see a moment when there are more of us that, you know, when we are looking in this moment for people to do that job, because it's a big responsibility. It's a huge job. And if you have a show where there are a lot of people who look like us, but nobody on that management team looks like them, that really becomes a problem. Like, how do you manage? How do they know that what's happening to them is business and not just racism? Sometimes it is just business, sometimes it's racism, and sometimes it's a little bit of both. But if you've never seen anybody in my seat, the manager of the show, that looks like you, how do you know you don't know? And so in this moment, I'm hoping that more people learn about what the job is. More people who work in the industry understand what a complicated position that is. And, you know, because it's not all bad. Like, to answer the second question, like some of the perks are, like, you're really a member of the show. I work for the show, not for the producer. And so I'm on the same payroll as the cast. And being a part of that family, like what you appreciate, whether that's doing, you know, a school play in the 4th grade or doing summer stock or anything else, like you get that same feeling. It doesn't matter what it is. And being a part of that family, I think, is one of the most rewarding things. Then, you know, there are the other silly things. There's like opening night parties and seeing the celebrities and going to the Tony Awards. Like, you watch Tony Awards, especially if you're a New Yorker, right? Like, you're watching the Tony Awards since you were a kid. And to like go there and be a part of that and be a part of the Broadway community is like one of the best things. Like, you can't even describe it. And also, if you get to the level of working on Broadway, everybody, like, there's pay disparity, and that's another conversation all this together. But pretty much everybody who works on Broadway on a union contract is making a living wage. And so this is a way to come and do what you love and do theater and create magic and do the 8 shows a week and really make a living wage. And so, you know, in terms of perks, like I would say that's really kind of the thing. And in this we see you American or white American theater moment, and this Black Lives Matter moment, I'm somebody who understands that change can be slow, and I am a patient person. And I know that it took me longer to get to these jobs than it did my white counterparts. I had to go to way more school. I had to do way more internships. I had to spend many years off Broadway to get here. But I'm here, and it took patience and perseverance. And so in this moment, I am not expecting that when the theaters open up back up next year, whenever it is, that this is going to be completely different. But what I do appreciate in this moment is that we have taken a moment to have a conversation so that people who thought, like most people in theater are fairly open-minded and believe in the humanity of everyone. And so they can be blind to the ways in which they're oppressing other people and they're shutting other people who don't look like them out of opportunities. And so in this moment, they've heard other voices, they've heard people that they care about that didn't know were living a different experience than them. And I think that we have given people an opportunity to hear, to learn, to be seen, and to get on the same page. Like some people aren't going to care. Some people, it's just about the money, just about getting as many bodies and seats as possible. But there are people who do care, who thought they were doing better, who have learned that they have not. And there is a shared vocabulary that if you're talking about race all the time, like so many Black people do, you have a vocabulary, you have a shorthand. And I feel like so many more people have learned what that is. And I'm very excited about that in this movement and moving forward, the ability to say, this is not okay. This is how we need to change. This is what is going on. Even if they didn't know it, they will understand the words and be able to take action based on what people have said.
Wow, that was really deep. That was beautiful. Thank you. That was beautiful. And I just love everything you were saying, Kimberly, and it just sounded so thoughtful. I mean, like you just put everything into it. Your heart and your soul was in what you just said. And I could feel that. And I know that anybody listening could feel it too. That was beautiful. That was absolutely wonderful. Miss Mills?
Well, I was on Broadway when I was like 17. I just turned 17 doing The Wiz. And my first show, of course, was Maggie Flynn. And I was actually 11 doing Maggie Flynn. And during the time, I really believe and found interesting what Damien said about the community, because The Wiz had nothing but the community to help them survive because they really didn't want us on Broadway. And Ken Harper, who was the producer of The Wiz, his mother went to a huge church, and my mother belonged to a huge church in Brooklyn. And they did busloads of people from the church to help The Wiz survive until we actually did our commercial. So it's amazing how far everything has come, because we didn't have social media or anything like that. All we had was word of mouth, and they just killed us with the reviews. So we really had to. It was different. They hated me as Dorothy. They couldn't deal with that. But with the community and getting back to the people and having the people in the community come see the shows, that was the best thing that happened. You know, I consider myself a mom now and an author and an activist, really, because of Black lives and so many of our Black men being killed, brutally killed by the policemen. But I love theater. There's nothing like being in a theater. The air of it, just walking through it. I mean, if they could talk, what would they say? It would be amazing. So I love doing theater. I hope to come back to do theater, but I think that a lot of things must change, which is the racism and shows for Black people, for people, for the community in itself, but more, I'd like to see more of us represented in theater as directors, as producers. There's not a lot of Black producers writers. And when I did The Wiz, after doing The Wiz, I never really liked auditioning. In fact, I didn't want to audition for The Wiz. My mother made me go down and audition for The Wiz. And I went screaming and crying and everything. And then I met with Jeffrey Holder and got the show. But I never liked auditioning. That's why people have never really seen me do a lot more, because I just won't. I'm petrified of auditioning. I don't like the whole. I don't like how they do it. So I never go to audition. Most of the things that I get, they're either offered to me and I'll do it that way, but I won't go down and audition for shows.
But I mean, just to hear you talk about how they had to bust the people out. I mean, that's just showing you how far things have come.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
And that's something that goes to what Donna does. That's something that goes to what Alethea does. It's something that goes to what our people are doing in the industry, to say, listen, you got to come out and support what our people are doing on stage.
Yes.
Because it's important that we come out and support each other. And, it's kind of funny, because this kind of leads me into what I do as a theater critic. Because I've been covering theater for 35 years, because I always wanted to make sure that people knew what our people were doing. And so you got to let people know when it's Broadway, off-Broadway, off-Broadway, Black theater, because you want our people supported. You want these shows to go on because they're telling our stories.
They're telling our stories.
Right.
They really are telling our stories, and they need to know who's telling the stories.
Exactly.
And those people need to be recognized, and a lot of us don't get the recognition that we should get. Our tickets were $75 back then. The Wiz ticket was $75, and Charlie Blackwell,
that was a lot of money.
Was our stage manager. He was an incredible stage manager, and of course, Jeffrey Holder was the director. Yeah. Gilbert Moses was our first director, and then he was fired, and then Jeffrey took over. And then, of course, George Faison was the choreographer, and Charlie Smalls wrote the wonderful music. And I also had a chance to do other plays and things like that. But there's nothing like doing theater. You have to be very, very disciplined. And I'm so glad, as a young girl, I learned that discipline very early, because it helped me in my singing career. Because I really don't consider myself an actress per se. I think I'm a singer that can that can act a little and dance a little,
Oh, Miss Mills,
my favorite role is being a mom.
All right. I agree with that, Stephanie. I agree. We have a few minutes, and I wanted to ask each of the panelists, and Irene is going to come back on, and I think Jim Joseph is coming back. Wanted to ask each of you, what do you see as the future for people of color on Broadway, off Broadway? What is your vision?
Hi, Irene. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Jim. For me and
so Irene, I just asked the question, and now people are going to go around and answer what is the future, future of people of color on Broadway.
Okay.
Well, I think that right now we have a presence on Broadway in terms of things like The Lion Kings, like Ain't Too Proud and things like that. And I think in those ways, those things are good. But I'd like to see more shows that are telling Black stories with the Black cast. Because the thing about it, Black lives matter, but Black talent matters also. And I think that when you see, when you have more of an opportunity for Black people to be on the Broadway stage, people will really understand the talent and the brilliance that is in the Black community, from the writers to the choreographers to the performers to the costume designers. I mean, Black people do it all. Right. And to me, I've always, told I have 2 daughters, and I've always told my daughters, to me, theater is a gift. It's a gift from God when it's done properly, because you help people to escape from their reality and you bring them into that world that's happening on that stage. And you can teach people, you can enlighten people. It's a beautiful thing. Theater can make you cry. It can touch your soul. It can transform your life. And when our people do it, forget about it. I mean, I'm not saying white people can't act, because of course they can. But I'm saying when our people do it, I want to see more of that when I go to a Broadway theater. I want to see that there's Black people on that stage.
Also, I want to remind everybody that The Wiz won 7 Tonys.
Yes.
Oh, that's
You know,
fantastic.
that year they walked away with. I don't think people really realize that
Yeah.
the show won 7 Tonys.
Amazing. Wow. Wow.
I mean, I'll jump in, Donna, and say
Yes.
that I think the future of Broadway for Black people will be amazing. It will be different. I think it will take time, like Kim mentioned earlier. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
But we need to be consistent. And I also just want to say out loud, you know, we all think about on stage and the positions and jobs that we see before us, but there's the whole behind the scenes team, like a lot of us on this call now, where there's the agency side or the PR side, and you know, there are a lot of jobs that will be available on the back end as well. And we do just as much hard work to get a show up on Broadway. And I think that people will understand that they don't have to be actors or singers to be in the Broadway industry. There's so many other positions available at Spotco, at Situation, you know, and I think it's important for people to know that from entry level to, you know, director level positions.
Can I say one thing?
Of course.
You might not like it, but I'm 63 years old. So I don't think we have a lot of time. I think the time is now. I think we've waited long enough. I don't think we need to wait any longer for them to see if we can do a show, if we can be a producer, if we can be a director. I don't agree with it'll take time. No, the time is now.
Yeah.
Because how much more time? We don't have a lot of time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you, Ms. Mills. I think the time is now. It has to be now. But
we don't have a lot of time to wait. What do we have to prove?
Yeah,
There's
that's
nothing
right.
to
Nothing.
No. And I think that the demands that are out are clear, that we aren't waiting, you know, but I don't think that by tomorrow, you know, especially in COVID times, I don't think by tomorrow we're going to see a whole new Broadway. I think that we all need to do our part from every angle of the industry, and we will get there. And we need to get there quickly. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's long overdue. Long overdue.
I just want to say, I want to jump in and say it's before I thank everybody, I want to say it's time, but also you can't teach a person who's only been riding a tricycle to get on a motorcycle and get to what they're supposed to get to. So this is why this panel is important. That's why I asked Damien, the people that are founders and president, and Neil and Jim Glaude, because to hold them accountable, they can be accountable because they can take on their people for a year so they can train them, you know, so they can know how to do these things. And that's what happened when they talk about this Dear White American Theater letter. That's how I am in the union, because Douglas Turner Ward wrote that same letter in the New York Times in 1968. But Douglas Turner Ward, Negro Ensemble Company, he had a plan. He brought in white company managers who knew how to do a contract that we could apprentice under. You know, so it has to be a plan, but it has to be that someone can, as we say, our allies work together, so we can all be sitting at the table and not the spooks who sat by the door. So that, you know, and that's why the conversations are so important. And like for me, being on Broadway for 50 years and not seeing anybody in the rooms of Situation or all the rooms, Spotco, AK, even to now, it's just basically me and Donna. And then when I see somebody like Kim, who was on Fiddle on the Roof, I just go up there and I'm crying. And I see somebody like Alethea, because like you said, and see somebody like Jim, it's really because it's strength. And like who said it earlier, you don't know. You said it, Kim. If you have only white company manager, you don't know if it's racism or it's just the way it is. So it has to be that buffer, and it has to be now. And you know, we didn't know pandemic, and we have to do it now. We have to have conversations, and we have to invest in our own future. Sometimes people have to say, I have no money. I'm going to intern like I did for 3 years for $50 and raise my daughter and my husband on it. But I knew the final outcome. So I just want to say that I did. That's it. Jim? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just one other thing. I'd love to echo what Damien had talked about earlier about post-COVID world, Broadway's face, that to succeed, we have an audience that we need to, that's a, if we're talking about diversity and inclusion, we're talking about what's happening on stage. We got to talk about who's working backstage. We also got about the audience. And it's sort of the three-faced monster that we have to deal with. And so much of it is getting that right mix between all those three. You know, we have control over who we invite to the party of Broadway. Okay, to quote this great author's book, you know, we have that ability. We can go about and make these hiring decisions backstage on our crews and our company managers and our front of the house. But then ultimately, we have the talent out there. There are people of color who are writing these shows. We just need to get them into the right room and get these gatekeepers, eventually change those gatekeepers as well.
If I could just say, one thing I'll just add to that is prior to this, Broadway, it was at 90% capacity. Yet we had 2 million seats going empty every single year. Every single year, there's 2 million empty seats. And it just drives me absolutely crazy. And that's what we've been fighting over the past 10 years. We've been doing the same speech. New York City public schools, one of the most diverse school systems on the planet, with amazing talent. Their arts funding's being gutted and cut out of the schools. Yet every year we predictably have 2 million seats empty on Broadway, where we could be bridging the gap and getting public school students into the theaters, which is representative of the community, hugely helpful, specifically the Black community. Like, why would we not do this? And we've been talking about this before when things were great. And so that moment now, it's like, you want to talk about the long game, 20 years, the only reason people are going to care about musical theater, care about theater in general, is if they even expose and are even welcome to the party. And I'll tell you, the Situation Project, which anyone ever wants to get involved, is something we run. It's a 501c3. What, 20-something thousand kids from New York City public schools, from the South Bronx to shows. They see 6 shows by the time they graduate. It's just transformative. It becomes a behavior. You become welcome. And I feel like we're taking kids, like, it's just remarkable, but it just drives me nuts that this is when we were at 90% capacity. So can we now please have this conversation as we're restarting to build that into the infrastructure?
You're right. And Damien, you bring out an excellent point. And I read your article. You had written about that, the 2 billion seats, 20 million seats. How many is it?
2 million.
No, it's 2 million seats at $100 average ticket price. That's $1 billion of empty seats left every 5 years.
Invest into various communities so that they can begin to have this experience. And I think there's a value, to everything. And what I really believe is it comes down to dollars. And so, it's this question of really believing that there's a value to giving these tickets to this particular group of people, when they're not perceived as a full human being or someone who is to be respected. And so it goes back to that. So it's not the empty seat so much as who you want to give it to.
Yeah.
So these kids, they're not worth it. We're not going to give it to them. Yeah. So that's really a place where we have to change. I mean, the change is so fundamental. It goes underneath all of our careers, and it goes beneath 401 years of systemic racism, white supremacy. So when we can get the shovel and dig underneath there, then that's from that place is where we'll see the change.
And that's a great point, Donna. And Kim, since Kim is a company manager, and we all know the budget before we even open, you have an opening night, you have X $100,000 for free tickets for the Tony voters, from the Outer Critics voters. I mean, you have a busting the party, the opening night party. All of that is not generating dollars. It's like about $300,000 that could go into somebody's apprenticeship. Because in all due respect, Damien, you have a company to run, and you have people who get you 20 years, and you cannot support everybody. But the producers have got to make a commitment so they can pay them, not for you to pay them. And we don't need to get, and also producers have to make a commitment to put those internships in the budget before they even open. So those are the conversations that have to be had, I feel. And also actors, our African American actors and people of color have to be held accountable, because they're doing 8 shows a week. and they on that stage, and they are going to have to also. I understand. I'm glad Black Lives Matter, but they have to take a stand as well, because even like we're doing Harlem Music Festival and Harlem Week. I mean, Stephanie Mills is on Broadway. There are a lot of people that could be in part of us. There's great people like Andre DeShields is always there.
Yes.
Blue Santiago, Felicia Rashad, Stephanie. Because we have to, like I said, we have to invest. But but while we're doing that, while we're talking about Black Lives Matter and our demands, come up to do Heritage Theater. Come up and do a play, do a monologue with the senior citizens in Harlem Hospital. Make yourself be known. Like go to Stephanie's church. So these are things that we have. This is another conversation, and then everybody, I mean, that's what I do. That's what Donna does. That's what Kim does. That's what Stephanie does. What Jim does. But because you have to really, I feel that you have to hold yourself accountable. But you cannot be a part of the problem if you're not in the problem. If you don't think you're part of the problem, you can't have a solution to the problem. So.
Amen.
Well, I got all riled up on that conversation.
I wanted to ask Miss Stephanie, what your thoughts are, because you talked a lot about, the immediacy of it, and just from where you stand, what do you see moving forward?
When he was talking about the buses in school, I mean, Ken Harper used to have buses of children come see the show, like from different. Remember Irene from different?
Yeah,
Irene
yeah.
did the press for the Wiz back then,
Mhm.
and we used to have buses of kids come see the show, and they'd come backstage, and I'd go visit schools. I
Yes.
also went and visit the White House twice, and all
Yeah.
of that when Carter was president and when Reagan was president. So we had Amy Carter come to the Wiz and all of that. So I think that involving the community, getting people in our community in Harlem and Manhattan, and those people coming to see the shows will make a big difference.
Also, Stephanie,
We have to reach those people. Yes,
right.
Irene?
Even when Stephanie was on the road, we were together with the Wiz. We visit people in every town in Philadelphia, because
Absolutely.
also sometimes in the people of the color, in the color community, people of color, they'll say, "Oh, Stephanie Mills is playing," and they don't believe that Stephanie Mills or would be playing in their hometown. So a lot of times that's important for the actor to
go
go out and say, to do that. So they say, "Oh yeah," because people say, "Oh yeah, I got," so that's also a history. I'm sure Damien never had this conversation, right, Damien? But she said, if Andrew McConnell was coming to town, she was coming to town. Okay, that's a whole other. I love you, Damien.
Schools are so important. Visiting the schools.
Well, let's hear from Kimberly. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the future for
I
people
mean,
of color on Broadway.
I've had so many thoughts because I know that there are so many people of color here in this country and here in this city who are out here creating and doing work, and they're, giving their lives and their talents to do it. And I know that inside the community, we keep saying, well, there's a pipeline problem. We need to reach out to this place and to that place. And what are we doing wrong? And I'm thinking, well, there's a person who lives around the corner from you who's doing this work, but they're doing it uptown, or they're doing it downtown, or they're doing it in Brooklyn.
Right.
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 And so if they're not foreign, we don't have to teach, somebody who's being in I don't know, a welder somewhere, how to do accounting or how to be a press agent. There's somebody who's here in the city right now who's been to school, who's doing this work. And so I hope that in this moment, we're not working right now. So the people who normally work are still toiling for work and trying to get gigs when they open back up. But as we try to diversify the teams and diversify what it looks like, I hope that people are open to their neighbors, right? Like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to look outside, whatever. There are people in our community who are doing this work. And I'm hoping that those people get an opportunity to also do things. And I know that what we're doing right now, there's been a lot of backlash against Hamilton recently and that kind of thing. And I think to myself, if the work that you're seeing right now doesn't serve you, let's not tear down that work. Let's make our own work. Like, let's create our own art. We have playwrights and directors and choreographers and people who are doing that work and posting it on social media and who are putting it up on YouTube and who are doing the work, right? If you have this talent, you have this drive, and you've been doing these things, well, let's bring you into this realm. Let's bring you into theater, commercial theater, and let's have you do it instead of tearing other people down, the other shows that have been successful that people want to see and are spending money to go see. Like, let's not bring that down. Like, let's take those people and you and your ideas and let's create something new. So in this moment, like, that's the change that I want to see. That's what I'm hoping that, we do as we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Donna, it's up to you now. Bring us in.
Well, this has, of course, been very rich. There's nothing that we did not expect. We knew who would be invited, what we would hear. And, it's so important. I do believe dialogue is the foundation for change. And so that's why I participate in these panels, because I know that through dialogue is how we change people's hearts. And that's where the bitterness and the anger live. So if we can change a person's heart, then we can start to see that manifested in our environment, our community. So today was very, very important. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for you taking the time out to share with us your honest thoughts. Sometimes it's not so easy. It can be a bitter pill, but that's fine because we know that's where we can see the biggest growth in our lives. So thank each and every one of you. We're going to see you when we resume into a new era. We're not going back. We're going to create a new way of living, of doing business, of expanding. Who is at the table? And we may have to do like Beyonce did. She said, I had to go chop the wood, build my own table. So fine, we can do that as well. So again, thank you so very much.
And I just want to close by saying I want to thank Linda Armstrong very much, so much. I want to thank the first half of all the panelists. The first half was Jim Joseph was on the first half, Jim Glaude, David Calhoun, Julio Peterson, and of course we have Alethea here. Did I miss any? We have Alethea, Kim Shaw, Donna Walker Kuhn, and of course I'm saving Damien and Neil Mazzola, who couldn't get on because his technology pad that he's using wasn't working with him. But he's also been a person who has looked for people of color and women in his Hudson Scenic Studio, who builds all the sets. And I don't want to leave without all of us thinking and praying for everybody to be healthy. But the Harlem GoFund community fund, we are doing a great work, and I want everyone to support it. We went from feeding 500 people a day to like 1,500 people a day. Those are the daily feeds. We're partnering with every day, and that's just one feeding, one church, the Salem Church. We partner with Harlem Silicon to bring tablets and computers, and to not only to the senior citizens, but to the parents who have kids, that more than one kid. We give masks and stuff, and we do a lot. And we also partner with Columbia and University, and people to give people can have grants to help their business and stuff. So it's a very wonderful, and thank you, Stephanie, for always donating, you and your son, to the community fund. And no donation is too small. $25 can feed 6 people. And if you don't want to donate on the GoFund line, you can always send a check. It could be $10 or $5 or $20. You can to GHCC Community Fund, and that's at 200 West 136th Street, New York, 130. Or you can call 212-862-7200. And that's I say that because we all take care of our own, and also we also give families and people in the arts community. We have a drive for them because they're not working. And trust me, it's really that's I just want to leave with that note, because it's our community is very small and very insular, but we will take care of each other as always. So I think that
Harlem Week.
And support Harlem Week.
Harlem Week.
And support Harlem Week, www.harlemweek.com. Some amazing events are coming up, just so many amazing. And also, it's not a talk about, because we do serious stuff. I know it's our panel. We'll talk about the COVID summit and all the systemic racism summits that we're doing. Which is,
You said it. And then we have career development and business expo. So there's many ways to learn and experience the richness of the Harlem legacy and our present and future. So if you go on the website, every day there's a whole listing of all kinds of rich products.
Yes.
It's an abundance of riches that we have. We're so excited. This is the first time, we're doing this virtually. And it was a learning curve. I mean, Davia, we didn't have your experience with
That's right.
We're accustomed to being on 135th Street, from booth to booth, me and Irene going up and down the street, making sure everybody was safe. We got the 3 stages, live entertainment, and now we're all like this.
But wait a minute. The great thing about it, we're partnered with New York Roadrunners, and you can do virtual running. Right? Yes, you can run virtually.
Registered.
Yeah, 5,000 people have already registered. So
you run on your own. You can run at home, in your home, outside. It's a virtual run. Amazing.
And we have dance parties too. We got it all. So Damien, that's why you need us. We need to sell you those 2 million seats. I'm going to send people over there. You're the president.
I really admire the work you guys put into putting this together, because you easily could have canceled it, and you put this all together. It's extremely impressive, because a lot of people did cancel. A lot of people canceled their events. You barreled through it. You made it a priority to happen, and I think your point about dialogue is important. The fact that you're making space for it and not going into it, and I think you're doing a pretty kick-butt job.
Well, we have great leadership under the leadership of Lloyd Williams, who's vice chair of Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, and also Bills and Rivers. We have a wonderful team. Don't want to name everybody, but this is all a team effort. All a team effort. So, anyway,
thank you.
Okay, we're going home, Stephanie.
Yes.
We're going down the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, all together.
All together. He's on. Who's going to start? He's on. Lisa, you always wanted to be a singer.
That's right.
He's on. Well, that's why I'm behind the scenes.
Okay.
Me too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. We'll call you.
Bring the noise and the funk, bring the best you got.
Love's a baby that grows up wild, and he don't do what you want him to. Love ain't nobody's angel child, and he won't pay any mind to you. One man gives me his diamond stud, and I won't give him a cigarette. One man treats me like I was mud.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Crystal Room is proud to present the club debut of America's new recording stars, The Dreams.
Every man has his own special dream, and your dream's just about to come true. Life's not as bad as it may seem if you open your eyes to what's in front of you.
Who's the greatest band around? Makes the cats jump up and down. Who's the talk of Rhythm Town? 5 guys named Mo, that's us. When we start to beat it out, everybody jumps and shouts. Tell me who the critics all rave about. 5 guys named Mo.
No more scratching for a living, like a chicken pecking. He's got the whole The moon comes up just to shine on Pearly, Pearly. A different place in a different time, different people around me. I would like to know of their different world and how different they find me. And just what the ways is it big? Will it scare me if I ask to leave? Will the waves even hear me? How will I know then if I'll ever get home again?
We've lost some great ones. Community leaders, mothers, sons, fathers, and grandparents. Our jazz legends gone too soon. Businesses, restaurants, and landmarks empty. But we can't give up. Harlem is world famous for a reason. The birthplace of the Renaissance. Our culture is worth fighting for. This is a movement of the people. Harlem is you and me. We shall overcome this together because Harlem is love.
It's harder than ever to get ahead. Chase Secure Banking is right there with you to help with the convenience to manage your money from the Chase mobile app. Plus, it helps you spend only what you have. Because you want to get ahead of your expenses and want to get ahead in life. Chase Secure Banking, helping you get ahead. Open a Chase Secure Banking account today with no minimum deposit.
Since you can't go to concerts, now we're bringing the concert right to your living room. In celebration of Harlem Week, it's a virtual concert with the Stylistics. It's the Dramatics. And the Blue Notes. We're bringing the concert to your living room. It's all part of the Harlem Week celebration. For more information, go online to harlemweek.com.